What's happening? It's the RR Show. I'm your humble host, Vince, thanking you for a fun and joyous 2024. Looking forward to 2025 with you, as this is the final episode of this year. We have got some good stuff coming up. First one going to be from Boomers Being Fools, then a couple from Malicious Compliance. So what do you say we start this episode of the RR Show right now? So as stated previously, our first story comes from r/Boomers Being Fools. From Toby Ggen, the user who posted this. Boomer tries to get me fired for helping him. So I've been working at Walmart for about 6 months now. Nothing terrible has happened until yesterday. I had this older man, probably late 50s to early 60s, come over to me to ask where hammers are. I know the grocery side of the store decently, but the general merchandise side, no idea. So I told him I'm not sure which aisle it's on, let me check. I then pulled out my phone to search it. For people who don't know, Walmart associates have an app called Me at Walmart that has a feature where you can search items. This boomer sees me take out my phone and loses it on me, calling me lazy, saying I can't just look at Facebook while I'm working. I tried to explain that I was searching for his item, but then he started complaining about me talking back. At about this time, my supervisor came over and asked what was up. The boomer immediately starts yelling and screaming about how this employee is rude and needs to be fired. He is telling about how I was checking Facebook while he was just asking for help. I have no clue why he thought I was on Facebook of all things. The Me at Walmart app looks nothing like Facebook. And now he's screaming at my boss. I figured he would handle it and talk with me later. I go to walk off and he throws a bottle of dish soap at me and it smacks me in the back of the skull. No injuries or anything, but still, that hurt. My supervisor calls over the AP coach and the main manager. I was sent to the break room with a coworker to make sure I'm fine. I had a headache, but that was it. I'm not sure what happened with 100% certainty, but I know the boomer tried to assault another worker and cops were called, and he ended up getting hauled out in handcuffs. I was told he'd never be allowed at the Walmart again, and I was given the rest of the day off. I know it's kind of an underwhelming end, but still. Update. Things got crazier. So I talked with my bosses and police today, and I have pressed charges. But that's not where the story ends. I'm just going through my day as normal when I start hearing screaming at the front of the store. Next thing I know, AP guy and main manager are running up to the front. I got this story secondhand from my mom, who is team lead on the front end. This guy's wife came in and started demanding that they unban her husband and fire me. When they tell her no and that her husband is in the wrong, she goes insane. She is throwing anything she can get her hands on and is screaming that she's going to kill all you effers. For the second time in slightly over 24 hours, the police are called. This woman starts fighting the cops and ends up getting tased. She is then hauled off in a cop car. Both are now in police custody, and the wife has picked up several charges such as terroristic threats, assault of an officer, and I'm pretty sure there were more. Update 2. Just finished up at the doctor. No concussion or any sign of injury. Guess my lack of brain cells came in handy this time. Our next story comes from r/Malicious Compliance, posted by user TwistSuccessful3349. Half day at 10:15? Don't expect us to stay a minute after 5. This is my father's story, not mine. My father and his friend were doing a course which required them to adhere to some corporate standards. A little background, both of them already had well-paying jobs and they were just doing this course for enhancing knowledge and not for any other gain. This course was divided into phases, and this particular one was for 18 days. You were only allowed one leave, and if you took more than that, you had to redo the entire thing. Our city was around 2 hours away from the course center, and they traveled daily to and fro to attend it. They mostly tried to be early, but this one day there was unusually high traffic, and they were much delayed. As a result, they were around 10 to 15 minutes late. When they reached their location at 10:15, they were informed by the course supervisor, CS, that they would be marked absent for the half day. They both protested, stating their reasons for lateness and also that the class had not even started, but their appeals were dismissed. The irony? The lecturer himself was delayed by traffic, and the class didn't begin until well after 11. They were both frustrated for having a half-day marked absent for no reason. So at 5 that day, they stood up in the middle of the ongoing lecture, packed their bags, and started leaving the class. The lecturer was confused, and the course supervisor was enraged. He asked them what they were doing. They replied, following the protocol, if we were expected to arrive early at 10, we should be able to leave at 5 too. Apparently, the course supervisor wasn't prepared for someone to follow their own rules to the letter. The CS began shouting at them that you can't leave before the lecture ends. I will mark you absent for the full day, etc. But they just left. They got calls from the CS and other persons threatening to remove them from the course. As I said, my father already had a job, so he wasn't much bothered by the threats, and same with his friend. They went the next day exactly at 10, ignored the course supervisor and his warnings, and left at 5 that day too. The other students began following their example and left at 5 too, which led to the institute paying extra to the lecturers as they had to invite them the next day as well to continue the class. There isn't much more to it as the course was only for 18 days and they both passed with flying colors. This story came out of nowhere a few days ago and I couldn't stop myself from posting it here, however small the malicious compliance. Our third story in this episode comes from malicious compliance again, posted by JC Morway. Oh, now I can stop the ride? Enjoy your 6-hour downtime. This story isn't about me, but about a very smart, sassy union rep I used to work with. When I was in my late 20s, I worked at a large theme park as a supervisor for one of the roller coasters in the park. The safety policies were drilled into our heads every week, so that if a situation ever came up, hopefully our instinct would be to follow our training for the safest outcome of all parties, customers, and employees. Things like fire drills, ride evacuations, and medical situations were stuff we were quizzed on multiple times a week and could land us in hot water if we answered incorrectly. This is stuff everyone at every level should know. One day, I was working with one of my fellow supervisors we can call Jeff. Jeff was a supervisor like me, except with about 10 more years of experience, a chip on his shoulder for management, and the authority of a union position. He was loved by his employees and coworkers, but did not get along with anyone further up the food chain, and he was not someone to be trifled with. Jeff and I were working together when the fire alarm went off on the ride. The process was 1. Stop loading. 2. Kick all of the customers out of the building, while simultaneously 3. Run the ride so that all the customers on the ride could get off the ride. 4. Once everyone is off the ride itself, We would stop it so everyone would leave. However, this day we had a younger manager who was trying to make a name for themselves show up during the process and make the call to stop loading and kick everyone out, but not to stop the ride for the employees to leave. This effectively kept everyone, both employees and customers, in the building for about 20 minutes longer than needed. Jeff was fuming, but he did as he was told. Once the last customer left the building, the manager smugly turned to Jeff and announced, "Now you can follow protocol." Jeff raised his eyebrows and chipped back, "Oh, now I can? All right." He reached over and waited for a few beats before slamming the emergency stop. This ride had 3 lifts, which could easily be reset, and 3 safety brakes, which required our maintenance staff to physically winch the vehicles out of it and to a lift. This badass had just waited long enough for each vehicle to crest its respective lift and to catch in a safety brake. He turned to our manager and said, "Have fun with that. I'm going home. Oh, and I'm filing a grievance with the union for you putting employee lives in danger." The ride was down for about 6 hours after that. When maintenance saw the state of the ride with a vehicle in every brake zone, they rightfully raised hell. Jeff never got in trouble, but did leave the area not long after that. The manager also never got in trouble, and I believe they're doing really well for themselves now. But until the day I left that job, I told the story of Jeff's wide-eye expression as he asked, "Oh, now I can?" before turning what should have been an hour downtime into a 6-hour monstrosity. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.